Welcome to the OxiClean Way webinar. It's good to see that we have everyone in attendance. You guys are showing up on time, so thanks for doing this. My name is John LeClaire. I'm the owner of Harvest Growth. I'm going to walk you through, as promised, much of the process that OxiClean used to be so successful. And we'll explain some of the process to you. So part of this presentation is going to talk about HSN specifically. In the beginning, I'll walk you through from start to finish exactly how OxiClean became such a big success and how you can too. And then we'll get into more of a focus on specifically with HSN. So I'm not going to make you look at me through the entire presentation. I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the slideshow so we can get into some of the details. I've just got some images to send you, some text, etc. And I can see quite a few more are joining as we go as well. So I may rewind and do a little bit of an intro a couple minutes in, but I want to make sure everyone who joined us on time gets the content that they're certainly looking for. So as I mentioned, I'm John LeClaire, CEO of Harvest Growth. I started my marketing career. I'll walk through the details as we get through this, but my direct response TV or infomercial marketing career started with OxiClean, one of the biggest successes of all time on TV, and I'm going to walk you through some of the secrets that I learned there that made them so successful that are replicable, so you can use them for your business as well. I'm looking at the list of attendees so far that have joined us. I see many familiar names, especially many from Salt Lake City. I was there last week, meeting with several inventors in one-on-one sessions to review products specifically for HSN and hopefully offer some good marketing advice as well. I do want to talk about in this webinar, this training today, who it's for, so we can all pay attention and make sure we're in the right place, of course. So if you've got a product and you are looking for some help or advice on how to market your product in a better way, you're in the right place. If you're ready, if you've got samples, you've got inventory, you're ready to ship, fantastic. If you're at the early stages as well, there's no better time to start thinking about your marketing. So whether you're in market and looking to grow, or whether you've got a concept that is just beginning and you're looking for how to bring it to market, this webinar is also for you as well. So as promised, I will walk through the submission process for HSN American Dreams and how you can get your product onto HSN. I'll walk through that in detail about halfway through the presentation. So I'm going to go through a lot of, as I mentioned, the OxiClean way, so the way that OxiClean is marketed, much of it including HSN, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty and the details towards the middle of the presentation as well. I do want to say, so Bob Circosta, the host of, or one of the hosts of American Dreams, the infamous Bob Circosta from HSN, who's been on there for 39 years, literally since day one of that network. He is the one that actually walks all of the products into the buyer to decide together on which products to air on American Dreams. Of all the people I met with in Salt Lake last week, I've walked Bob through on the phone the products, and he's really excited. He was amazed, to be honest, with how many good products there are and a lot of good potential. So there was a brief meeting so far. I'll talk about next steps as we get on through this presentation. Many of you that are joining this presentation also are not, or were not at the event last week, and that's okay too. So if this is the first time you're hearing my voice, we haven't met yet, that's fine. I'll walk through details on how you can submit your product for HSN consideration as well. All right, let's get into some of the details. So here's what we're going to talk about today in today's presentation, some of what you will learn. This is what I call the OxiClean way in its simplest form. This is the path that OxiClean took, basically, from day one in order to be a huge success on TV and in retail and now international. So the process started on HSN. Before that, they sold in home shows across the country and were a relatively successful business, though small. HSN is what propelled them onto national TV, the home shopping network down in Florida in 1998 is when it all began. From there, they took it to infomercials, both long form, meaning 30-minute infomercials, as well as short form or 2-minute spots. That's really what got them in front of their national audience. From there into retail, and that's where the business really skyrocketed. I'll walk through a little bit more detail on each of these steps as we go through this. Their final step was international, and now they've taken over where they are an entrenched brand, but it all has to start somewhere. And HSN was the starting point specifically for OxiClean. So, I asked this question myself years and years ago. I've been an inventor at heart, always loved looking at, talking about new products, and had the dream of launching my own someday. I realized a long time ago I'm not an engineer. I don't like to design products. I don't like to deal with the manufacturing. That's just not where my expertise lies. So I figured out for myself that I love to launch and market new products. That's hence where I've created this business for the last 10 years. But before I got to this point, I realized that I needed to learn how to launch a product. So my first step along that path was to get my MBA at the University of Chicago, Graduate School of Business, a few years ago. And I went there with the intent of going to a school that was well respected. It was a top 10 business school. It was top 5 for entrepreneurship, which was my goal, learning how to market new businesses and new products. That was my goal going in there. And I loved it. It was a great 2 years in Chicago. I learned a lot. But when I graduated, after all that money I'd invested into the University of Chicago, I realized that, you know what, I didn't know how to launch a product. If you would have given me something great at that point, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. So I, from there, went out and joined Kraft Foods. That was my first marketing career after getting my MBA. While there, I ran a few new product launches, one of which was the Nabisco 100-calorie pack. So you probably have seen these on shelf still through to today, and it's been well over a decade since these were launched. It's been a big success and a lot of fun to work on. I also, while I was there, worked on the Planters brand and launched the Nutrition campaign. So we started with an ad campaign and then gradually moved it into an entire product line around nutrition, realizing, of course, the health benefits of nuts, but also helping consumers to realize those. And both of these have been major successes in the consumer products industry that helped Kraft Foods to grow at the time pretty significantly. So it was a lot of fun, a great experience. But I realized at the end of this too that, you know what, I really didn't know how to launch a product. If I didn't have a $20 million marketing budget like I did at Kraft Foods behind me, I wouldn't have known what to do. If you, again, threw a product in my lap, no matter how good it was, I'm not sure that I would have at least known. I could have figured it out, maybe, but I didn't know the steps to take from day one to launch a product. So from there, I actually lucked out, I would call it, in my career. I went to work at OxiClean. The company was actually called Orange Glow. So while at Orange Glow, I was able to run new products, the new product launches for the OxiClean brand, ran the entire Kaboom business or brand as well. And there is where I really learned how to work as an entrepreneur launch or marketer, product launcher. So this company was founded, again, earlier than 1998. That's really when they started on HSN. But it was founded by a father, and then his 2 sons joined him out here in Colorado, which is what really brought me out to Colorado originally. So Max Apple and his sons Joel and David Apple started this business literally out of a garage, grew it relatively slowly through home shows, a little bit of retail here and there, and then using this approach that we call the OxiClean way, that's now been coined a term, and really a technique to use to launch products to market, starting with a relatively low budget and growing your business quickly without sometimes the need for big investment from outside, et cetera, or borrowing money, et cetera. So it's a relatively inexpensive way. There are still costs, of course, to running a business, getting inventory, et cetera, but it's a much less expensive way, and it's more friendly to entrepreneurs. So it's something that an inventor now can do on their own, as opposed to having to be part of a bigger organization. And I'm going to walk through that again in detail. So let me give you a little bit more peek behind the tent, specifically for OxiClean. So here's an image of Billy Mays, if you remember him. This is the first airing on HSN. So it's a screen grab from August 28th, or I think, or 23rd of 1998, a long time ago, in the middle of the afternoon, Studio B over at the Home Shopping Network. It was a success from day one. And Billy Mays, this is where he ultimately got his fame. Billy was before this, for 17 years, had traveled the home show circuit across the country and sold in person, kind of honing his craft. This was his first time on TV, and of course he was meant for it. It all started here, and this is what really grew the business into the success that we have it today. So what was a 6-figure, relatively healthy business, OxiClean at the time, traveling across the country, selling a few at a time, now became a multi-million-dollar success almost overnight because of the success that they had on HSN. They were so successful that first airing that they were brought back again and again and again. Let me talk about some of the benefits that we saw initially as a company, as a brand, OxiClean on HSN, that still continue to today as you think about HSN for your particular product, your business. So one of the great things with HSN is they buy from you. So it's like a retailer. When they take a product into onto their channel, they buy inventory from you. So they're paying you for it, et cetera. So you get revenue that comes in from them. It's free marketing. Once they take it on board, now they're giving you the chance to pitch. They're usually 10 to 20 minute pitches on average that are on live television into 96 million homes. They're on virtually every home in America carries HSN. And some even without cable, you can get them on some local access networks, etc. So it's a huge market and a huge opportunity to market your product, not just to put it on a shelf and hope people find it, but to literally effectively and proactively market into these homes. It's a great way also to test market. So if you're relatively early in your business, or even if you're fairly far along but looking to grow, it's a way to test in front of this national market with relatively low risk, as opposed to building up a huge amount of inventory, sending it out to 3,000 Walmart stores. It's a failure and you buy it back, right? So they're with HSN, they start relatively small in the numbers that they take on, test it, and then grow it from there. So it's a great way to test your product and your positioning, your pricing, your messaging, everything else behind as you grow your business. And you get instantaneous national awareness because of the size of the network, because of the size of HSN. You're in so many homes at the same time that you get that instantaneous awareness across the country. So the next step, as I mentioned, for OxiClean was infomercials. So they started with a 30-minute campaign as well as a 2-minute short form. This is a screen grab of the first 2-minute spot of Billy Mays in his first OxiClean short form spot or infomercial. This is a couple years after the initial airing on HSN. So pretty quickly they grew into this, and I'll talk through the strategy of the process. And Billy Mays, I had the chance to do many shoots with him, well over a dozen different video shoots for OxiClean, Kaboom, and other brands over the years, and really became a good friend. It was sad to lose him as a friend, sad to lose him in the industry as well. But what a great inspiration to all of us. He was the pitch man for OxiClean. He wasn't the owner of the company, as many people think. He was the pitch man behind it, the salesperson behind it. But he sold it well because he had heart behind it. It also helps us to realize that you don't necessarily, as the inventor, need to be the face of your business. The Apples really never were, at least not on national TV. They hired that out to Billy Mays, and that certainly can be done for other businesses as well. So there's a lot of different ways to do it if you're not the one to necessarily be on TV. So once OxiClean got onto TV infomercials, so growing it beyond HSN, and of course we're still on HSN and still doing very well there, they were able to grow their business from around a $10 million business to over $300 million in revenue. And that was from the power of TV. And I'll talk about the process that they used. But some of the benefits of this infomercial side of the campaign is they had 90% or over 90% nationwide awareness for the product. So people knew the product, they knew the brand, they're familiar with it, etc. And as part of that, it brought high credibility to the brand. So now that you see it on retail shelves, for example, you are familiar with it, you see how it works, you trust it more than you would if you just found it there. And that's what caught retailers' attention at the same time. So they saw that obviously there's success behind this. People like the product, they buy it, they're willing to use it. It's used over and over and over again. They see that growth, and it gets their attention, so now you can bring your product into retail. And that's what we call the TV to retail approach. So it's using TV to generate awareness for your product so that when you show up on retail shelves, people have heard of you, they're familiar with you, they trust you, and they're ready to buy. So it's a good combination of those two. Again, that HSN into infomercials into retail is a very effective strategy. So OxiClean specifically got into the shelves of Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, Walgreens, Safeway, and many other grocery stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, thousands and thousands of stores, over 40,000 individual retail outlets eventually generating over $300 million in annual sales. So several $billion of revenue in total have been generated just from the OxiClean company or OxiClean trademark. All right, so let me run through some fun math behind this. So this TV to retail approach. You know, at the end of the day, sometimes we deal with clients that don't want to deal with retail. They come to us, they've got a product that's been relatively successful online, possibly, and it's kind of nice because you know all your customers' names, you're able to market to them directly, and you're not dealing with some of the potential issues that come with retail, like cash flow concerns and them not marketing as well as they should, etc. However, I would encourage, if your product is appropriate for retail, it's always a good consideration, because that's where ultimately the big volumes, the massive volumes are ultimately going to come. Now, they may not happen without TV, without that support, but ultimately that's where the revenues come in. There are ways to do it where you don't have to deal with all the headaches, however. So let me walk through the math a little bit. So if you've got $1 that you can invest in something and that turns into $2, and that math continues where you've got $10,000 and you double that and get $20,000 back in revenue, that's a fantastic business opportunity, of course. And that's how TV works. The goal of a TV campaign, direct response TV or an infomercial campaign, is to double your media investment. So if you invest $10,000 into TV media, the goal is to generate $20,000 back in revenue. That pays back your media, your product cost, your shipping cost, customer service cost, etc., and you're left with a profit. So now what that becomes is it's free advertising. If you get to this point with your product and you can scale that, whether you're spending $10,000 a week or $100,000 a week, if your advertising is profitable, well, now you can advertise, you can grow your awareness, make money along the way, and prep yourself for retail, etc., and get, like I said, free advertising behind this. Another piece of math that's pretty interesting. Now you got to remember, I'm a former CPA, so I love numbers. I'll try to keep these very simple. But one of the things I love about direct response TV is the numbers behind the business. It's very easy to judge a business, to judge the success, to make decisions on the fly because there's so much data behind it. But some of the simple numbers we look at, like, for example, doubling your media investment from $10,000 to $20,000 back in revenue. Another number that's important to us is retail. For every dollar or unit that you sell on TV, ultimately you'll get 8 to 10 times that in retail. So, for example, you sell $10,000 of revenue on TV, you can get up to 10,000. I'm sorry, at 100,000. So 10 times that. So from 10,000 to 100,000. So let me walk through the math. So if I've got $100,000 that I'm investing in media on TV, and I'm successfully doubling my investment in a week, let's say, then that $100,000 turns into $200,000 in media revenue. So revenue generated from the website, from the call center, from Amazon, etc., from social media, all connected to the TV campaign. So $200,000 in revenue based off a $100,000 spend. Retail can be 10 times that. So what that means is 10 times $200,000, $2 million. So a $100,000 investment in media, advertising media, can generate and lead to $2 million in retail revenue. Now that's where the math really starts to grow. So you can make good money on TV, absolutely, but don't forget the retail component, otherwise you're leaving a lot on the table. And as I mentioned before, there are ways to do this where you're not the one taking the risk. Obviously, with a $2 million retail revenue stream in a week, a month, whatever that is, that requires a lot of inventory. And if cash flow is an issue, which for many entrepreneurs and inventors it is, there are companies you can partner with to distribute, to broker for you, to license from you, etc., once you've been successful via TV infomercial, and sometimes even just from your initial HSN campaign as well. So a lot of this stuff, I'm brushing the surface, and I'm moving fairly quickly through this OxiClean Way technique or strategy. We do, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of this webinar. Bob and I actually teach a course where we go through in a lot more detail over 2 days, where we spend 2 days with small groups of entrepreneurs and walk through all of this in detail, and you know, can get much more into the questions that may come up to specific businesses, etc. But I wanted to brush the surface today, at least, to give everyone a basic understanding of how to do this OxiClean Way marketing methodology. So if you remember, we talked about HSN to infomercials to retail, and then the last step of the OxiClean Way is international distribution. So if you think about growing your business across the entire country, or world that is, it's kind of a daunting thing to think about. You look at all these countries across the world, everyone with its own language, its own customs, its different ways of being marketed to, etc. It's a hard thing to do on your own. And we struggled with that back in the my OxiClean days, of getting products, getting the brand across borders. Even in countries like Australia and England, where the language is the same, you market to them differently. So we struggled with that even as a $300 million company. So imagine starting off, obviously, you want to get into these markets as quickly as possible so you're not second to market when you get over there and are beaten. But it's hard to do, right? But there are distributors that are relatively easy to work with. Once you're successful in the US market especially, it's pretty easy to take abroad. And there's a couple of key distributors that take infomercial or as seen on TV products or HSN products even into over 100 countries. Now, of course, most of the volume is going to come from a handful of those, but they can market into dozens and dozens of countries. They'll repackage for you, they redo the language, they redo your TV or your video campaign to match those local languages and see which markets are going to work best for you. But they handle all of that and they buy from you. That's a little lower margin, of course, than you would earn on your own if you went over there, but they take all the risk, et cetera, and they know how to market. So it's a great way to bring your product internationally relatively easily. And again, we talk about that much more in detail in our live sessions, et cetera. And I'll talk about another way to get that information as well. So now the question we often get is, will the OxiClean way work for my business? Do I fit this TV to retail model? And it's not for everybody. It's not for every product. The products I met with in Salt Lake, the inventors I met with out there last week, many of you fit this, and I was open and obviously explained when you did. And let me talk through some key questions that I look at. I didn't have a chance to go through with everybody, what I was looking at, the criteria I was looking at. But if your product answers these questions with a yes, or several of these questions, not necessarily all of them, then you can fit this model. Infomercials, HSN, and taking that into retail potentially can work very well for your business. So again, I'll go through these pretty quickly, but does your product solve a common problem easily? So it's a problem-solving product that people are aware of. You're not creating a problem they don't know about, but it's something that they deal with every day, and you're helping them to solve that problem. Is it unique and different? You can't, or it's difficult to be successful on HSN or infomercials with a Me Too product. Being cheaper is not good enough. Being a little bit better is kind of tough. So it's being unique and different with your product. Now, there may be something out there that's very similar to your product that you can source in China or find on Amazon with a lot of searching. That's different. What we mean by unique is it's not something that consumers are aware of. So if it's a product or product category that's new to most people, then it's unique. Does it appeal to a mass market? With TV, be it HSN or infomercials, those are broad distribution channels, which is why they can generate so much revenue. But as part of that, it's very difficult for a true niche specialty product that only speaks to a very small audience. It's more difficult for them to be successful. Is it easily explained? Can you get your story across pretty quickly, especially for a 2-minute spot? But even in a 20-minute HSN presentation, if you don't get your story across in the first minute, you lose people. So if they don't get what you're talking about, now of course you've got the rest of the time to convince them to give further details, but they've got to be able to grasp it pretty quickly, or you lose them. They change the channel, they move on, they stop paying attention, whatever. Pricing is important from 2 standpoints: the ultimate price that the consumer is paying, but also your manufacturing price. Margins need to be very high, between 75 and 80%, between your cost of goods, your manufacturing cost, and your ultimate selling price. You want that margin to be, again, 75 to 80%, again, but the shelf price, not necessarily your wholesale, but between the price that you buy from your factory and the price that you sell it. But also reasonably priced from a consumer's standpoint as well. They want to feel that they're getting good value. HSN won't look at something, no matter how cool the product is, if they don't feel like their consumer or viewer is getting a good value out of it as well. So that value is important on both sides. One that we talk about as a company all the time is personality. Does your product have a personality that's memorable, that will stand out in a crowd? It's kind of like a person that you meet that you think about the rest of the night. You meet one person at a party, they're the one that stands out. Can you do that with your product? And part of that is the product itself. Part of it is the pitch or the messaging that you put around your product to give it that personality that's memorable, that stands out, that people will think about after they see your video on TV, for example. Because now they've got to remember to go to the website later, to call the phone number, to go to hsn.com, etc., to find and to buy the product. And this is something that Bob Sarcosta is such a genius at, is teaching this messaging, how to get your messaging and your pitch across. I mean, nobody has the experience that he does. Over 10,000 hours of live TV selling experience, 75,000 unique product presentations on TV. It's quite amazing. So he's got that innate ability that's built through 4 decades of doing this to be able to help everybody with their messaging. So that's one thing we do in our live events, is to specifically talk about the messaging to help you get a personality for your product, and talk about how do you communicate your features and benefits in the most powerful way. The last question we look at is credibility. So does your product, will people believe that your product performs as well as you say it does, or will the benefits be there for you, for the end consumer, as you promise? All right, so the best way to start on this path, the easiest way. Now, every business is different. We have many clients that skip HSN and go right to infomercials because their goal is to get to retail fast. And infomercials drive retail like nothing else, or they do them concurrently. Sometimes you pitch to HSN the same time you start an infomercial campaign, because HSN can take a few months to get on the air, getting through their acceptance process, etc. But it's a very common way to at least start, even if it's concurrent with the retail or the infomercial campaign. HSN is a great place to start. And here's a few reasons why. So one is it's minimal cash flow requirement. So unlike retail, if Walmart says yes to your product, they may require 50,000 units or so of your product, or more, or whatever, big numbers, and you've got to deliver on that. And by the way, they're not going to pay you for 60 to 90 days after they receive them. So you've got this factory order coming across, you're building credit with your manufacturer either here or overseas. So cash flow can be a real issue when you start out a new business from a retail perspective. With HSN, because they start with smaller tests, it's relatively minimal cash flow for your inventory. You do get immediate revenue. So they do have terms. They pay you 30 or 60 days after, depending on the contract you get with them. But it's after they receive the goods. But it's smaller quantities than some big retailers to start with. So it gives you that. But it's immediate revenue. So you get that after, like I said, 30 to 60 days after they receive the goods. Limited inventory requirements. Typically for a new test, it might be anywhere from 500 to 2,500 units, depending on the price, the category, etc. Minimal upfront cost as well is involved in this, meaning there is no, you don't pay for your time on TV. You're not paying the host from HSN to be there with you. You may hire somebody to represent you, which is not that expensive to do. You have props and things like that, but it's minimal. So the upfront cost is not that much compared to doing a TV campaign. Obviously, you have the ability to get in front of a massive audience and control that, and again, it drives retail. But a TV campaign has some costs involved with it as well, so video production costs, et cetera, buying the media, et cetera. You get into 96 million homes right away, right? So their entire audience for HSN, when they say yes to your product, you get in front of that massive audience. And as I mentioned before, you get a 10 to 20 minute live pitch. Many of you already know, but if you don't, HSN is on the air 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. On Christmas, they do some recordings for that day. Every other day of the year, holidays, 2 in the morning on Memorial Day, it doesn't matter. They are always live on TV. And it's that 10 to 20 minute pitch. Part of the reason they do that is you can adjust, right? They can watch the results and make adjustments as they go live on TV to see what's resonating, what's bringing in orders, etc. Or you may pitch 3 or 4 times across the same 24-hour period of time, and you can adjust your presentation between those as you get learnings as well. And you do get immediate results. So you'll know by the end of the airing, basically, how many sold. They'll watch for returns, and it'll take a couple weeks to figure out all the details behind it, but you, real time, the host can actually see exactly how many they're selling while they're on TV. It's a lot of fun to watch. And you get a fun trip to Clearwater, Florida, voted America's best beaches, believe it or not, are the White Sands beaches just over in Clearwater, Florida. So it's a fun place to be as well, any time of year, really, especially in the winter, of course. But it's a beautiful place. So they're located right in Clearwater, Florida, not too far from the Gulf of Mexico. So let me talk about the American Dreams opportunity as well. So American Dreams is a segment or a show that airs on HSN. Right now it's once a month on the first Monday of every month during prime time, during what they call the Monday night show. And Bob Circosta is the key guest host that brings in many, many products into this show. Again, he's been at HSN for almost 40 years. Was the original pitchman that was on there about 40 years ago, selling a product when it was a radio station, and then a local TV broadcast station, and then national, of course. And he's been there the entire time. So that's why he's a great face of HSN. Everyone knows him in that industry. So he is a guest host on this American Dream segment, along with Adam Freeman, who's the HSN host. And then they bring in an inventor, or sometimes a couple of inventors, if it's a team, to pitch alongside with them. The American Dreams segment it's been described kind of like the QVC Sprouts program, if you've heard of that, but significantly better. So where Sprouts starts out online, and they measure how many sales they get from their QVC.com, and then if you do well, you move into the on-air. And we've had a couple clients a couple years ago that have done that before this American Dreams opportunity came up with HSN. One of the issues is sometimes you get on the air and they give you a minute to do your pitch, which is tough to get across. So it's almost like a feel-good type program in my experience, the QVC Sprouts. Now, American Dreams is different. This gives you a 10 to 20 minute pitch. It's a regular standard pitch. You go, if they say yes to your product, your first step is to be on national TV. Take you right on to their network during prime time. And because it's American Dreams, they operate a little bit differently than the rest of HSN because they're dealing with inventors and entrepreneurs, etc. It's really the best opportunity that's ever been created to get on HSN. It's a very unique opportunity. It started in August of 2015, so several months ago, and has been doing very well and growing in popularity, but also in importance within HSN. As part of this, you get faster approval sometimes. I mean, there's a caveat to everything, of course, right? But we've seen much faster approval through the system. We've seen this faster QA or quality assurance, because they're trying to get things on the air and help these inventors out quickly. And as I mentioned before, it's aired in prime time as well. So let me show you a couple of examples. There's some screen grabs. This is Tammy Erdell. She was on the very first airing in August 2015 with her Safe Sounds earbuds product. That's Adam Freeman on the right, Bob Circosta in the middle, and then Tammy Erdell, the inventor, on the left side. Was successful there. Again, national TV. This is her first national TV exposure. A relatively recent one, this is Anne Longley from a couple of months ago with a product called the Heft that helps you work shovels and rakes. It takes a lot of the weight off, and that has done very well and has been back on the air a couple of times. And then we have this, you can see the outdoor studio just outside the regular studio for HSN to be able to show how this product works as well. Here's another one. This is Bob, the inventor. Alec Lesnica is not in this picture. But it's his product. So this is on American Dreams for his. It's called the Smart Faucet. It's an automatic hands-free faucet. You put your hand underneath it, much like the airport bathrooms and things like that you've seen and been to. You can now get that in your home for pretty cheap, as you see here, for $40, basically $39.95. This is Jonathan McNeely with a product called the iSpotter Sport. It's basically attaching a big scope to your phone so you can record things at a distance that did well also. Again, their first national TV exposure. And then here's one called the GUI Gym. This is Tad Mayfield, middle of workout, so maybe he's in the middle of a workout. He's not smiling, but he's talking here and talking about the how this product works. It's kind of like elastic bands, but it has constant force resistance. We've done an infomercial campaign with Tad for the GUI Gym as well that's doing very, very well and has been on the air for about a year, and they aired on HSN for the first time in March of in 2016. And as you'll see, I'll show you how well they did in a couple slides. But let me show you some behind the scenes of this particular one. So you can see Tad and Bob and Adam and a model there as well doing some exercises. This is in the HSN studio. So you can see a little bit of the behind the scenes behind HSN. A little panoramic view of that same studio, and they're on two sides. So there's part that was on the couch over to the right you can't see, and then the workouts are done on this left side. They walk back and forth as well. A lot of these cameras, as you can see, are it's all very high tech, high def, etc., very high quality. So this is what they call the green room for HSN. There's many of these. This is where you go to prepare before clean up afterwards, etc. While you're waiting for your taping to go. They're stocked with food, and you can see on screen all the live presenters. You can see what's going on before you, etc. There's a picture of myself on the left, Bob, Tad, and then Tad's team as well for the Gui Gym. Ted's wife over there on the right. So they had a great time being out there in this HSN studio also. So here's the coolest part though, is take a look at what happened. If you can't see there, let me blow it up a little bit. So sold out. This is the first airing ever for Gui Gym on HSN. And it's sold out. It sold very, very well. Well over 1,000 units that were sold, and accessory kits, etc. And I did very well that very first night on TV, first presentation. And they've already been back on the air a couple of times and are slated to continue to come back. And that's part of this process, is you prove it on American Dreams, and then you go back on the air to continue to grow the business. So American Dreams is meant as this testing ground, and then you go into what they call regular rotation. So with his product, he goes into the fitness hour or something similar, depending on the month or the week, etc. And the idea is to go back over and over again. As long as you're successful, HSN wins as well. So they want you to be successful. They do everything they can to help you, and it's a fun process to be there in studio as part of all this when they take your product in, and they'll help you through, because when you're successful, they're successful. So they try to get as involved and as helpful as they possibly can. And Adam Freeman, you see him on the right there, is phenomenal to work with. He's a great pitch man. He's been with HSN for years and is one of their best. He does very well. And he's as I mentioned, the host right now for the Monday night show where the American Dreams segment airs. So as I promised, let me talk about the submission process. So if you've got a product for HSN that you'd like to take in, let me walk through the process of exactly what needs to take place in order to get it approved by HSN and to take it in and to be accepted. So the first piece, for those of you who joined me in Salt Lake, this is done. This is the preliminary review. For those of you who this is the first time we're talking about this, and there's quite a few of you as well, I will explain to you in the next slide, I think, or a couple slides later. I'll send you, there's a website where you can submit your product and give me some details. We'll ask some questions, etc. But I'll explain the submission process. But if you've given it to me, if we met in Salt Lake, that part's done. The next step then will be after a submission, so whether it's done already or whether it's done through our website that I'll explain in a couple minutes. The next step is that I put together in our studio out here in Colorado. I've got samples of most of these products or pictures of the website, etc. I put together a product review video that I then give to Bob. Bob walks into the buyer's office. So the buyer and Bob Sarcosta decide together what's going to fit for HSN American Dreams. And part of what they use is this video. They do an internal, after that meeting, they do an internal category review. So the buyer takes it back to their full team just to make sure that, hey, they love the product, they love the pricing, et cetera, but make sure that it fits within the category, et cetera, to make their final decision. As part of that, they also do a quality assurance or QA review of the product to make sure it does what it says, that the quality's there, it's not going to break, et cetera. And if you get through these steps, the next step is a purchase order. They send that out to you to prepare, the quantities that they want, what they're willing to pay, etc. And I do want to stress, their goal is to get you through this process. Once they like your product, they want to get you on the air. So if you get it kicked back with issues during the quality assurance process, it's not a generally speaking, okay, sorry, it didn't work, you're done. They want to work with you to get through any changes that need to happen because they want to see it be successful for you. After that, you ship the inventory. So once you get that purchase order, it'll give you an arrive by date that you need to get it into the HSN warehouse. Once they receive it, that's when they schedule the on-air date. And it's oftentimes about 30 days after receipt of that. They'll work around your schedule to some extent. Of course, with the American Dream segment, you have a little bit of planning because it's right now always the first Monday night of each month. So have a little bit of a planning. And as Bob and I work with you through this entire process, before we get to the purchase order piece, we'll have figured that out. If there's a date you can't be there, you're out of the country, whatever, we'll have that figured out. We can bump you to a later date if necessary, all that kind of stuff. And then your next step is you present to 96 million homes. It's a lot of fun, and it's not as stressful as you might think, especially when you're standing next to Bob Sarcosta. And that's one of the beauties of this American Dream segment is if you get accepted by HSN or QVC or some other station through the quote-unquote standard process by submission or working through a regular broker or whatever it might be, often your first step is to go on the air. It's you and an HSN host, and they're great, absolutely great to work with. But the difference with American Dreams is you've got that HSN host, and then standing next to you is really a part of your team is Bob Circosta. He's very familiar with your product by this point, and he's helping the pitch. So you're not alone. We've had one or two inventors or entrepreneurs, almost everybody, even as nervous as they may have been when they showed up, once they started, once Bob warmed them up, it was an easy process. They loved it and were surprised by how unnervous they were, right? They felt calm and at ease and had a lot of fun. It's really energizing. But for the one or two over the last several months that we've done this that have been extremely nervous, and it happens, Bob's there to help take over, right? So you're not missing out. So you're still there as part of this. You can answer questions, and sometimes after the first couple minutes are slow, Bob takes over, and then he comes back to you, and you're warmed up and ready to go. But he's done this so many times that he makes sure that you get your best presentation possible. But again, in front of this entire audience of HSN, prime time on their network, it's a lot of fun. So the product review video I mentioned. So there's, this is not meant for national TV. There's a glimpse, a kind of a background glimpse of the studio here in our office in Colorado that we use to see the things on the floor. Of course, that won't be in the video. It's a white cyc wall, they call it, so you can't see the corner back there. So it's it's meant to be professional enough for the buyer to get them excited. This is not meant to be, again, a national TV commercial. If it were, I would not be the host. This is not about me. It's about your product. So those of you I've met with and those of you who have submitted already online or those that will come, we'll get questions answered, et cetera, before I put this video together. Our next taping is scheduled for next week, but we do these regularly, so we can do it after that as well for some of you. But this is a simple video. What we do is we'll do several at a time. I'll spend a couple of minutes or a few minutes on each product, describing the features, benefits, et cetera, sometimes showing a picture, a sample, of course, using the product, the basics to be able to present this to the buyer. We do this to get their interest, present a lot of products, and then they kind of pick the ones that they want to focus on. And from there, of course, we'll send samples, do a much more lengthy presentation, but oftentimes this is that first step for many products. And I'll talk about a different way that obviously Bob can get more information than this as well. But this is a very common step for those of you in Salt Lake that I already met with. This is our next step that we're doing. As part of this video, as I mentioned, so if we've already had the part in Salt Lake and other cities, these one-on-one meetings we've done, I've got the information I need for most of you. I've got a couple questions out there that before we film I may ask you as well. If you have not submitted, if we didn't meet and you would like to submit your product for consideration, here's the website to go, and we're going to type that in the chat box as well, but it's products4tv.com. So watch for that in the chat box, and you can copy and paste it as well into your website. But if you go to products4tv.com, then you can submit your product. There's just a message box, etc. And again, as we have more questions, we'll get back to you. But whatever you can send in the form of pictures, if you have a website or video, even better. And then we'll talk if we need samples to try out, etc. So there it is in the chat box. You can literally just click on that or copy and paste. After the presentation, you should have access to all this, or copy and paste it somewhere else. You can capture it at any time. And we're going to stay on for questions and answers after this. And just to give you a time check, we probably have about 20 minutes left or so, and then we're going to do a question and answer session, and I'll stay on as long as necessary after that as well to answer any questions as we get through this process. All right, so I do want to talk. Here's a unique opportunity to actually meet Bob Circosta in person. So Bob, as I mentioned, he's been on HSN longer than anybody. He pitched the very first product back when it was a radio station in Clearwater, Florida. It was an electric can opener, avocado green, as he calls it. This is 40 years ago, right? The styles were different back then, and they sold, I think it was 112 on the air on the radio. They realized they were onto something. Shortly thereafter, they moved it to local TV, and then they eventually, in the mid-'80s, took it to national TV, and now it's an international. There are other stations in the UK, in Germany, Italy, Asia, etc. Canada has a big one called the Shopping Channel as well. They're all connected, the same general format. So Bob, as I mentioned before, no one has more experience, especially in the live TV shopping industry, than Bob. Literally nobody. He started this entire industry. This is before anything else existed. has done over 10,000 hours on live TV, 75,000 unique product presentations. Again, there's nothing like that. And Bob, when you meet him, he's a great guy, a lot of fun to work with. But because of his experience, he's got an ingrained ability to be able to help with messaging like nobody else I've ever seen. So a lot of what I do with my business is I write scripts for our clients where we do infomercials, right? We do a lot of 2-minute national TV spots, and I consider myself an expert, and many do outside of our company as well, and that's why they hire us, is to help write their compelling scripts. But no one's like Bob in terms of adjusting a pitch on the fly, and especially these longer live format pitching experiences. And so when we do trainings together, what he does is works individually with each person that's there on honing and perfecting their pitch. That is great for HSN. It's great for pitching your product to HSN as well. And we might tweak some things that, maybe these benefits are going to be even more important for the HSN audience, or it's a better way of saying it, etc. But it's also a pitch that you can take back to your business and change your website, change your marketing collateral, change your Facebook. The core focus of your marketing has changed for many, many people as we've done these live events together. So let me talk about this, and I do want to emphasize as I discuss this, what we call the Market to Millions Bootcamp. Bob and I have been doing this for 7 years together, in different forms, etc. But it's often a 2-day boot camp, 2 days of intensive training. It's kind of our normal operation that we do together. I do want to stress, this is not something mandatory, especially if you've submitted online or if I've met with you in person. It's a different event. We are taking your products into review by Bob and by an HSN buyer. But what many people enjoy about doing these events is it gives you a chance, one, to meet with Bob, to learn from Bob and myself. We both are there the entire 2 days together. It's live questions, where it's just the two of us dealing with small groups of people. It's typically about 30 people in groups. We keep these small so we can do this one-on-one interaction. And there are people that they come to us with products and want to join the boot camp, and we'll tell them, hey, this is probably not something for HSN or not for TV, and we advise maybe you're not a fit. So we do want to qualify people to make sure that they have good products, or at least the potential of being so. And some still attend, if they just want to learn the messaging, and that's okay too. But we're very upfront with everybody that joins us. This is not, again, something that's mandatory, but it is something that's very helpful because also it's because it's live and in person with myself and of course with Bob. You get to know us on a personal level, and we get down into the details with you on your product. So now when we do the pitch to HSN, when Bob walks it over to the category buyer, they get the full story, right? It's the honed pitch, etc. That's presented. It's done in Clearwater, Florida, so just a couple of miles or a few miles away from the HSN studios, where Bob and I will host this at a hotel in the local area. Our next event that we're doing is July 29th and 30th, so it's about a month, in fact, exactly a month from today, July 29th and 30th. It's a Friday and a Saturday. Many people typically fly in Thursday night and fly out Saturday afternoon, or stay the weekend and enjoy Clearwater, Florida as well, as a good way to get to enjoy it. Here's some of the stuff we're going to talk about at this event. It's one is how to get your product onto TV and grow it into retail. So this OxiClean way methodology. I obviously have a lot more time, myself and Bob. Basically, each of us will spend about a full day, but we're both there both days to be able to spend some one-on-one time as well to go over this with you in much more detail. Mastering your marketing messaging, as I mentioned, nobody can teach this like Bob because no one has a grasp of it like Bob. And part of that is the pitch, right? So it's the messaging is your pitch to the world. We'll also be able to hone your pitch for HSN so they can get it in a way that put it in its best light, the way that they are looking to hear about a product in the right way. You'll also hear directly from an HSN buyer because we're so close. Many times they'll join us and come in and meet everybody quickly. These are not a chance to do a pitch. They don't have that much time to meet with everybody one-on-one, but they'll come and do a presentation either live or sometimes they'll do it via video to present their view of American Dreams, their view of the submission process, et cetera, what they're looking for, et cetera. And it's a lot of fun to hear directly from them also. And at the end of it, we'll do a live Q&A with Bob and myself and get all of your specific questions answered. What we found, again, Bob and I have been doing this, several times a year for years together. And really, the reason we do this is because we love it, and we've met so many great people and so many fantastic products as well. And a lot of the questions come up after these events as well. So this is, in our view, a way for us to get to know inventors on a personal level. And sometimes, they come to us and they're just not ready. They've got a prototype or an idea, or maybe the pricing is wrong, they need to get help with manufacturing or whatever. So it's a process that we'll go through, and maybe 2 years later that they're ready to go on the air. But because we've met in person and we've gotten to know each other, we're much more effective. And I myself am very responsive to emails from people that I've met, of course, and didn't know, and we obviously like and talk about your product. But surprisingly, Bob is as well. Bob and his team are great at getting back to people and helping through the process to, again, the goal of making each of these inventors and entrepreneurs that attend a success. That's the whole goal behind all of this that we do. And because we've seen so many great successes come out of this is why ultimately Bob and I do these events a few times a year. Now, we've done these as part of, for years, as part of a $7,500 event, which, to be honest, it was, in my view and Bob's view, it was a bit much. It wasn't our organization. We were part of somebody else. We presented this message as a 2-day bootcamp as part of the bigger event. And it didn't make sense for entrepreneurs and inventors. So we have built this on our own last couple of years in order to bring the costs down, right? So it's much more achievable for inventors and for entrepreneurs to, especially if they're at the early stage. We have many that come, even at late stage, looking to grow their business, to perfect their marketing, et cetera. But especially the early stage, we want to make it within reach. And what we've done recently, we've started to add these on, and we've gotten a great feedback from it. So we're going to continue adding this on. So anybody who joins us for our live event down in Clearwater, Florida, as a bonus, will also get access to an online training system that is several hours in content. This is about 8 hours of content. It's called the DIY, or do-it-yourself infomercial system. Now, your product may not or may not be right for an infomercial. This is intended to, how do you learn what has made infomercials so successful and apply it to your business? Whether you want to do an actual infomercial campaign, we teach the process, but how do you use those principles and create a video with your iPhone that you can now market on Facebook, but make it look professional and make the messaging spot on so it has the best chance for success. So real briefly, I'll walk through these. So we walk through a detailed case study of OxiClean, exactly what they did, a peek behind the tent to learn from their process, from their specific story. We share the best vendors in this industry, so who to create websites, call centers, fulfillment, media buying, all that kind of stuff. If you need them, they're great resources as well, and how to work with them. Advertising copy, so much on your marketing messaging. How do you, even if you're shooting your own iPhone video in your basement, that's okay. As long as your messaging is right, that's the most important thing. We teach a course on getting your copy right or your messaging right. Also talking about how to get a license deal. So if you don't have the money or don't want to invest the money behind your business to grow it, and many people don't, that's fine. If you want to just be an inventor, we teach the process of how to get a license deal, how to do your own market research, how to produce an infomercial. Again, not that you're going to hopefully compete with my business as an infomercial producer, but the goal being, how can you make a professional video? Again, even using your iPhone or local resources, et cetera, and still make it look good. This may not be for a national TV approach, but it may be for YouTube and for growing your video, et cetera. That we have a bonus module that teaches online marketing. So what to do next, right? Getting your video done, getting your messaging done, and then where to take it online so you can pretty inexpensively market your business. And we've sold this as a complete system for $19.97, almost $2,000. And really because in reality, in many ways, we're replacing what we do as a business in some ways, right? We're helping people to do this on their own. And even a couple people have used this system and started little businesses to help others, right? To market their business and kind of use the principles that we teach, et cetera. But we include that as a bonus. It's online content that you can access at any time, and it goes obviously into much more detail than I can do today. And then also there's another system we teach that we've sold in the past for about $1,000, $997, called the Harvest Video Marketing System that Bob and I put together. That really, this is similar in content to what you'll learn at the live event, but in more detail, because you have even more time to approach it, and there's a few other added resources included with this. People love this, especially when they come to the live event, because afterwards they can go back, you know what, John talked about online marketing, or Bob talked about mastering your messaging or your pitch, but I didn't get all the notes or all the details, or I want to hear it again. So now you can go back, and it's going to be different and a little bit more in-depth content, but you get a similar story behind it, so you can continue to learn and apply that to your business. And there's 12 modules that come out as part of this. They're included, but there's also 12 interviews that are done with successful inventors and entrepreneurs. So just some examples. Basically what you'll hear, each one of these is a different interview to hear the behind the scenes story of some of our clients, some of our friends, etc. A couple of them were successfully funded on Shark Tank. We've had a few clients get on Shark Tank, and they'll share their stories in detail, how they got on, what the experience was like, and give some tips and pointers. One that got a license deal with a big ass on TV marketing company and explained that whole process. Another that got investors behind their business and raised well into the 6 figures of capital to get their business off the ground. And they share that story. A TV success, one that went straight to retail with a minimal budget and started kind of as a boutique product, and it was successful, their story. Another that marketed their business purely through social media and was very successful. So now you're hearing not just from Bob and myself, but from successful inventors and entrepreneurs in their own words. So these are audio interviews that you'll have access to as well. And some newsletters, some what we call swipe files, where these are like a sample script that you can copy and paste and just change in your own product, etc. So a lot of other resources that are all part of this. And again, we include that as a bonus. So if you look at all this, the 2-day event, typically we do this for $19.95 plus the DIY system, the Harvest Video system. It adds up to about almost $5,000, $4,989 in value that we have sold these for separately. But then as you couple them together, we're actually cutting the price for this next event in Clearwater down to $14.95. And really the goal is, we're on a hunt for finding the best products. This American Dream segment has been so successful for HSN and for inventors that we've been able to help, that we're trying to grow that the capability to access even more great products across the country. So we're bringing that price down to basically cover the cost of throwing this event, the hotel and the AV equipment, all that kind of stuff, just travel to get there and put the event on, basically to cover the costs of this event. So it's down from our normal of $19.95 down to $14.95. So I've got to, I guess, ask you or make you think about this. You don't need to respond in the chat box because I probably know what you're gonna say to this. But what are the most common words, or what's the most common phrase on TV when you've got an as seen on TV product? But wait, there's more. So there's always more. So let me talk about one more thing that we're going to add into this. So we sell a form of market research called Should We Launch? It's this detailed, simple to implement, but once you know the system, but extremely powerful way of surveying consumers to get questions answered on pricing, on features and benefits, on messaging, on the color of your package, etc., to get your product put forward in the best light. And we've sold this survey. When we do this in-house, it's typically $5,000 to do this research, because it's very in-depth on what we do as part of this. And there are other agencies out there that'll do the same thing for $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000 that are pure market research houses. And we've been doing this for a long time. Back since my Kraft Foods days, market research has always been ingrained in me as a way to test products, to test messaging, to test pricing, and get those answers back from consumers. So you're not making this up as you go along. So we bring the cost down, relatively speaking, compared to bigger market research houses, but we also realize that even at $5,000, not everyone can afford to do that. Or it may not make sense for your business if you're just starting out, et cetera, to do that big of an expense. So as part of this live training, I walk you through step by step the entire process to show you how to do that. So now you can do your own research over and over again. So save yourself $5,000 each time you do it. And you can, if you want to test a price one week and test a color the next, or test different products week over week over week, you now will have the instruction on how to do that yourself. But the price, that's included. So I teach that as part of this instruction. We've just started introducing that in the last year, and it's been extremely well received because, again, now people can do their own market research, have this valuable tool that was previously really only available to big businesses, at least to do it right. But now you can do it on your own. So that's included in that price. But now we're actually cutting the price down to $9.95. So all of this 2-day boot camp, the 2 online systems, the market research instruction, all for $9.95. So everybody who joins us, there is we've got only a few that we can do at this price point because we got to cover the cost of the hotel and that kind of thing. But I'll talk about that in a minute. But I do want to say one more thing. But wait, there's still more. So I can't stop doing this stuff, right? Because I'm an infomercial guy at heart. This is what I do every day, day in and day out, etc. So one more thing, and you've probably seen this in our flyer or in our website or elsewhere. As part of this, we're giving away a free cruise as well. So Bob and I, a couple of years ago, started doing cruises where we do a similar event like our Market to Millions 2-day boot camp, but we do it on a cruise ship, and it's a ton of fun. It's just outrageous, and I'm almost done here. Thanks for sticking with me for a couple more minutes, to be honest. And again, we'll get into Q&A in just a second, but I do want to explain this cruise opportunity. And if anyone has to go, I will give you I'll only mention the URL, and we'll put it in the chat box as well. If you go to howtomarket2millions.com, you can sign up. You don't need to actually give us any payment, etc. right now, but you can email us and we'll get back to you with all the details. howtomarket2millions.com. There's the URL if you want to click on that in the chat box. But let me explain this cruise as well. So this is an opportunity. It's a Caribbean 5-day cruise that we take out of Miami and goes down to the Bahamas. And Bob and I are on the ship each day with you. I'd say we leave on a Monday, come back on a Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the mornings we'll do trainings as we are arriving in port, and then end those days and you can go off and have a lot of fun. So it's a really fun experience, but also the point of it is to learn a lot too. So it's a great way to learn, and I got to be honest, this is I borrowed this idea from Ron Barron. Many of you know he does these events as well, and I went on one of his, and there's nothing better. So we work with Ron to set these cruises up, etc., and he's fantastic to do that. But one of the things I love about this is the environment for learning. There's nothing like it because you're combining fun with small amounts of learning. A few hours in the morning, you often have fun. People ingrain it more. They remember it better. It's a more powerful learning experience because of that. There's truly nothing like it. And you can actually, if you join us for this 2-day boot camp in Clearwater, you can join our cruise for free. So we need to walk about the details real quick. So this normally is $11.99 per person, double occupancy, and the cruise is being marketed at www.sail2sell.com if you want to see it, the details behind it, etc. Anybody who joins our boot camp, as I mentioned, so each participant comes for free. So you've got 2 people in the cabin. Your piece of that is free. You don't pay your $11.99 per person. So your specific fee. And if you have questions on any of this, we'll get back to you and we'll talk about all the details, etc. If you're interested in joining us for the boot camp. But so join us at the end of July in Clearwater, July 29th and 30th, and you can also join us March 6th through the 10th, 2017, for free. Hopefully, we've given enough planning for everybody to mark their calendars for that. It's a little bit before spring break season, so we're trying to help families be with their kids, etc. during that time. But great timing for the cruise itself as well. We hit 3 Bahamas ports. The interesting thing with that is there's no passport required. So it's one of the things we love about this cruise. If you forget about it to the last minute, you're fine. You don't actually need a passport to get off on the Bahamas. Basically, we have a treaty with them. It's the only island in the Caribbean that's like that. So it's a very unique cruise in that regard as well. As I mentioned, we'll do daily training, a small group with Bob and myself. And then you'll have one-on-one time with Bob and or myself throughout the cruise as well. So what Bob and I do is we teach the trainings in the morning, and then everybody goes off and does their fun. Fun for us is this. We love this. We love dealing with new products, with inventors, with entrepreneurs, etc. So we stay on ship typically. We may go off and do an excursion with a small group if it warrants it. If you guys would like that, that kind of thing too. But for hours we'll stay on the ship and we can meet poolside or on the deck or whatever, and schedule some meetings. So you can literally have some good one-on-one time with us as well, and that's a lot of fun. And then go off and have your fun, or come back early in the afternoon, grab free lunch on the ship, and then join us for a discussion or whatever. As I mentioned, it's hours of fun on shore every day, so you'll have a chance to get off and have a lot of fun, do excursions, just go to the beach. Again, it's a lot of fun, and it's tax deductible. That's the beauty of this, because we're teaching it at sea, and we're teaching at every port. This whole event is tax deductible. As I mentioned, I'm a former CPA, so we checked all of the tax details behind this to make sure. So, if you bring anybody beyond yourself and pay for them, for example, their fees, their costs are tax deductible. Of course, yours is free. Your boot camp itself that you're doing in Clearwater, Florida with us is also tax deductible. I see that we've got a few already that have signed up. We've got some email indications of that already, so that's great. Thank you, everyone. If you have signed up already, we will get back to you shortly with details and help you through that process. A couple more minor details I mentioned. Just again, the dates are Friday, July 29th and Saturday, July 30th. Down in Clearwater, Florida, you fly into the Tampa airport. It's just across the bay. It's 15 minutes away from Tampa, pretty close by. The pricing of $9.95 is valid through this Friday. So we just have to get deposits in the hotel, etc. And so in order to guarantee early slots, you can always sign up later, of course, at the full price of $14. That's still the discounted price, right, of $14.95, and still get all of the benefits, etc. But this pricing, we just because of the deposit structure and getting the AV guys booked, etc., is through this Friday. So July 1st, this pricing will be valid. Again, you just have to email us to get it started, and all you need to do to get started is a $100 deposit to lock in your spot. So if you go to that website, it's howtomarkettomillions.com, and again, I'll put that up in a second. You can just get us a message. We'll get back to you and figure out how to pay, and that's back in the chat box again. Thank you. We'll tell you how to lock in your spot, etc. The balance would be due by July 15th. So you got a couple weeks to pay the balance of the spot. Any questions, feel free to also submit those. If you would like to reserve your spot, but you have some questions on details, that's okay too. Just start the process by going to the website, and we've got a few more that are going there now too. So and some good questions too that are coming. So we'll get back to you on those questions and get back to you on payment as well. And then again, here's the website. It's also in the chat box. But if you go to howtomarket2millions.com, for a couple of you that haven't been there yet, feel free to go there. And again, I think it's name, email, and a little message you can just put in there and let us in. Like I said, we'll get back to you later today with some more details. All right, so we've seen some questions come in through the process. This is the last slide I have, but I'm going to stay on board, and I see that it looks like, yeah, almost everybody is still here. That's great. So as you guys have questions, please submit those, and I'll talk about them live. Let me get through and click on these. All right, we've got one question that came in. It's and lots of you saying thank you. You're welcome. So thank you guys for your time. This is a pleasure. I love teaching this stuff. So as you have more questions too, get back to us on those. Some specifics, somebody asked how much an infomercial costs, and it really varies. If you do a 2-minute spot, they're usually about $30,000 or $40,000 or so to get talent, location fees, and crew, and editing, scripting, all that kind of stuff. And it's usually, all in about a $50,000 investment. Again, HSN is obviously less expensive, but if you're looking to get right on TV quickly, that's about what that costs typically. And we can get back to you with more details, etc. Again, another thank you. Oh, great! Hooray for Salt Lake City! Thanks, Wendy, for saying that. Yeah, what a great trip that was. I spent, for those of you who weren't there with me, I was in Salt Lake for 3 days, met with 75 inventors, one-on-one, 15-minute meetings, and had a lot of fun. It was, man, it sounded daunting before I flew out there, but it wasn't. Wow, a lot of fun. It was just, just energizing. I got to tell you, these products I met with, the people I met with, was fantastic, and we're already talking about the next event. Well, I'll get back to Salt Lake to do something like that again. Oh yeah, another one. Thanks for recognizing Salt Lake City. Great. So perfect. So somebody said that on their end, the audio was cut out a couple of times. So we did record this webinar, so we'll send a link where you guys can download and listen to the entire webinar if you'd like to again, or if you missed something or had to step out or whatever. So thanks for letting us know that. Mike, I appreciate that. Somebody else just mentioned, okay, so somebody else said their audio is fine, so hopefully that was just Mike, but if your audio is out as well and you missed something, watch for that recorded webinar for the presentation as well. If somebody wants specifically the slide deck, maybe get back to me after we send out the audio. I think without the audio, I'm not sure. It's a lot of pictures and stuff, but if you still want that, we certainly can share the pictures and stuff later too. But I'll start with the recorded webinar. Somebody else asked about the hotel, so that's one of the details we'll get you as you sign up for the event. We do this in Clearwater. There's a Hampton Inn, which has good rates. It's a very nice hotel, clean, modern, etc. And we've done many events there before, and they're great to work with. And they're on Ulmerton Road in Clearwater, Florida, right by the Clearwater Airport. But don't get confused; it's a small airport. It's expensive to fly into. Just fly to Tampa. It's cheaper, and it's 15 minutes away. Again, we'll get to the details to you guys, but that's where it is. Most people stay at that hotel. If it does fill up, which it does sometimes, there are about a dozen hotels that are within a mile. So it's easy to get to if you don't get booked into there. And again, we'll send details via email if you have any further questions. Looks like we still have almost everybody here, so great. And thanks for continuing to listen and keep sending questions if you have them. Somebody asked if the $9.95 price includes the boot camp and the cruise. Just to clarify, that's a great question. Thank you. So that one, yes, absolutely. So again, normally these are $19.95. Our regular price right now on our website is $14.95, and we have a few that have signed up for that. Just for people on this webinar, mainly because I've met a lot of you in person. These are great products. A few others that have spilled in here. Lucky for you, that's fantastic too, and we're happy to have you too. And you get that special pricing also, even though we may not have met, just because you're on this webinar with us. Yes, the $9.95 price that is good through Friday, that does include the 2-day boot camp in Clearwater and the cruise. And we'll get you more details on that as part of the sign-up process as well. So when you pay the $9.95 now, you're good to go for the cruise next March. Somebody else asked, what if I can't do that timing, or I'm not sure on the timing of the cruise? Well, it's one of the reasons we make it free, right? So if you can't do it, that ultimately you're still getting the boot camp itself for half off, and everything else with that, which is the 2 online content pieces, the DIY infomercial, and the video marketing system as well. So you get all of that included with it, even if you're not sure you can join us for the cruise, or if plans change last minute, and that's okay. We can let you know when we do another cruise. We only do those about once a year or so. They're less frequent, just because of the logistics of setting that up. But they are a lot of fun if you're able to join us. So yeah, if you're not sure, obviously please come join us for the boot camp, and if you can always tell us later on the cruise, even a couple months down the road, you can advise us if you're going to join us and if people are coming with you or whatever. Some people like to bring their entire company. Obviously, others like to bring their spouse, even their kids. And if you bring your family with you, that's another question we got for this. If you do bring your wife, your husband, your significant other, or children, or whatever it might be, your parents, whatever, sibling, whatever, if you bring some family or friends or coworkers with you that may not be interested in the content of the cruise, that's okay. So they can certainly join us, and many people do that, especially with a significant other or a friend or whatever, because you're only going to be in with us in the mornings. So in terms of having a session, so a couple hours or a few hours with us in the morning, they can go off and have fun on the ship, go swim, go have breakfast, whatever, and then join you and spend the rest of the day in the Bahamas on shore. So these are a lot of fun. I've got to say, we're getting a lot of questions on the cruise itself. This is, of all the things I've done with Bob, or even without Bob over the years, in terms of education, this is one of the greatest. It's a lot of fun. As I mentioned before, you remember things a lot better. Things sink in better. It's just a great experience. The cruise itself is fun. I mean, I love cruises, but combining that with the education, there's nothing like it. We did get a couple of questions on, hey, what if I get seasick? That's a great question. So if you've never been on a cruise before, these boats are huge. I mean, they're huge, massive hotels that are bent down on their side, right? So the waters this time of year in the Caribbean are pretty mild, and the Bahamas are actually not that far offshore from Florida. So the waves aren't as much as they might be out in the open sea and as you get further out. So this is definitely one of the tamer cruises. And most of the movement takes place at night. So it takes off around dinner time. We have big group dinners with everyone together. Certainly you can go off on your own if you'd like to as well, that's fine. But we have the group gets together for dinner, etc. And you can barely feel it moving, to be honest. And then you go to sleep, it kind of lulls you to sleep. For some people who are severely seasick, you can get a prescription. My wife gets seasick, and she's going to get a prescription that works extremely well. It's non-drowsy, and even in choppy waters, if that does happen, then she's always felt fine. There's a lot of over-the-counter stuff too, and we've never had any issues, especially on these Bahamas cruises. So it's really easy. So I do want to remind you of something as well. As part of this, everyone who has joined the webinar today, you do get a free download of my book. So whether you join us in the 2-day bootcamp or not, this will answer a lot of your detailed questions. So my book, Sell on TV, it's really the how-to manual for the infomercial industry and has been used for years. We'll send you a free copy of that, electronic copy that you can download. So that's just as a thank you for joining us for the webinar, and hopefully it will answer all the questions that didn't come in during this webinar itself. So I think I've got, as I look through all the questions, let me see, just a couple more have come in. Let's see. So how much does a formulator make when they make a product when we're figuring out our cost of manufacturing the product? Oh, good question. So if you're figuring this out, if you go to a factory, how much do they make? If you go overseas, the margin's pretty slim, the labor's low, and at the end of the day, you're not going to know how much they're making in terms of margin, but you can get competing bids from factories to make sure that you get the lowest price and make sure you're getting a good value for it. So you won't know their margins, but whether it's overseas or domestic, but always get competing bids if you can to make sure your cost is reasonable. And that can include shipping too. We had a client recently that we just shot an infomercial for that is bringing a couple thousand units of their products over from China, and they were able to cut their shipping cost or freight cost in half just by doing some negotiating. So anyways, yeah, so they will make some money, of course, but they're pretty low margins. These the manufacturers typically they deal on volume. So how many members of my team can I bring with me? John asks. With the $2,000 price tag. So if you're talking about so it's $1,000, so the $995, you can actually bring as many as you'd like. So at that price point, so each person, we've got to cover the cost of the event, but so every person that joins this 2-day event pays that $995, and each person then that joins the event and pays $995 will also get the free cruise and everything else as part of that as well. So it's a per seat cost. And any questions in detail on that, please let us know. That's another one too. So it would have covered me and my wife. So $995 per. So it is per person that joins the event. The $995. If you've got more than two, we've done bigger company type things and have done discounts, etc. Reach out to us directly with questions, and we can certainly talk about that. A couple more thank yous. Thank you guys, Tyler, Carol, Glenn. Thank you guys. Glenn also asked, is there a discount from multiple partners? So I just talked about that. So if there's more than two, let's talk. Absolutely. 995, does it include everything? Yes. The only part I missed with Dead Audio is the product video section. My question is, do we have to do a video? Oh, good question. So no. So the product video is we can do a video. So we're doing one where I present it. If you don't come to the event or whatever, if you go out there, we'll help teach it. And you may not need that video because Bob then will be taught face to face, and he will walk it in. So you don't have to do a video. No, it's a great way to pitch the product. If it is complex, it's a good thing. But an iPhone video can be good enough, and we'll coach through that specifically. If you have more questions. What if we can't go to should we launch? What if we can't go? Can someone pitch our product for us? As I mentioned, yes. So if you haven't submitted your product already, can you pay someone to do a pitch video for you? Yes, actually, so that's a good question. So Bob and I, and we'll talk more about this at the bootcamp, we do very professional pitch videos with Bob in studio that actually look very much like HSN, where, again, if your product is complex or we think we need a lot of help in getting it understood or accepted by HSN, then yes, we certainly can do a pitch video. In Florida, and again, we can do more details. Suzanne, offline, you and I can talk about that. Yes, and you don't need to necessarily be there in order to do that. You said American Dreams. Oh, American Dreams. So you're asking about if once you're on HSN, can you send somebody else? Great question. Absolutely. You do, as the inventor, you don't need to be the person that goes on HSN. You can hire that out. It's not very expensive. So Wendy asked if the cruise is for one person, but if a second person wants to go, they would pay the $11.99. So yes, if you're bringing somebody with you, so they would pay the $11.99 for the cruise. Yours would be free. So that's how that works. Again, we'll explain more details if that doesn't answer your question. If you can't make July, when is the next one? It's TBD. We do these every few months, so it's probably a few months later. We get pretty busy in the fall with HSN airings, etc. So I would suspect it's probably October, November, or something, but I'm not sure yet. We'll let you know. And you guys are all on our list now, so as we do more of these, we'll send out more information to you. Got that same question. Missed you in Utah due to email snafu. Love Ron Barron. Oh, so do I. Carl, he's a great guy. Is there an average price for HSN? Do you normally include shipping in the offer? For HSN specifically, there really is no average. They need to be at least $15. But there are things that are sold on there that are over $1,000. So it really ranges. It just needs to be a good value for the consumer. Do you include shipping in the offer? Normally on HSN, the shipping is separate. Sometimes they'll do a special sale and include it, but it's usually in addition. HSN collects the shipping cost though. So they buy from you for wholesale and they collect the shipping. So Mary asks if there's 3 founders of a company, are the prices per person or per business? As I mentioned before, just to clarify though, the prices are per person. So if it's more than 2, so if really 3 of you want to join, please let us know that in the messages when you go to the website. And Mary, I don't know if you've submitted yours already or not. If you haven't, or if others have that question, just email us the message. We'll get back to you guys with details. We want to know with specific questions like that. Dramamine. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, Dramamine works well for seasickness. It can be make you a little tired as well. So if that's the case, then certainly use a prescription if you like. The great thing about sailing only at night is it doesn't really matter if you're tired, right? So take Dramamine, go to bed, and you sleep like a bird or baby or whatever. I was looking at Wendy's last name is Bird. So all right, so there you go. I think we've got all the questions answered. Again, thank you so much. We still have a lot of you on the line. So if you still have questions that aren't showing up here for some reason, or if I didn't answer, or if I just missed it somehow, again, feel free to go to the website. You can find that in the chat box. Hopefully you wrote it down by now. I'm going to turn off my audio in a second, but we'll leave this on just so you can access the chat with all the URLs, etc., for a couple more minutes. But the key one to go to is howtomarket2millions.com. And both of those are TO. They're not the number 2. So howtomarket2millions.com. If you go to that website and you're interested in joining us for the bootcamp, as many of you already have signed up, please just let us know. Again, you can start with a $100 deposit just to hold your spot and keep that $9.95 pricing that goes away at the end of this week. So any other questions as well, just put those in your messages as you send them across to us. And then we had 3 more questions that just came in. I'm just going to answer these really quick, and then we'll move on. Another huge thanks. Another thanks to Ron and Score. Wendy, I agree with that. Thank you. They were fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to the end of July. Great. We're glad to have you, and it'll be a lot of fun down there. Suzanne, do you have someone that can source manufacturing prices and shipping values? Yes, we do. So some of you have given the name of Tom Dowler, and I can give you direct information too to get a hold of him. If people aren't familiar with buying and manufacturing products, is it costly? We do talk a little bit more about that in the live event as well in our boot camp. But yes, we can help you source. Is it costly? Not really. So most of these factories and sourcing guys will work on commission, right? So they work on, depending on the number of units you order. So it's worked into the price as you deal with factories in China or import brokers, et cetera. They get their piece of it, and as long as the math works, then you're not paying a big fee to them up front, and it works really well. So again, thank you very much. Many of you stayed on for almost half an hour after we were done, and thank you. And hopefully these questions, hopefully the presentation was helpful, and hopefully the questions were as well. I promise you, those of you, many of you already signed up. It looks like for Salt Lake, or I'm sorry, for Clearwater. You will love it. It's a lot of fun. You'll love meeting Bob in person. The great down-to-earth man, just and very, very helpful. One of the best teachers in any forum I've ever been around. So I do encourage you, if you can make it down there, this type of opportunities don't come around very often to get all of this content and relatively low cost, et cetera. And Clearwater's nice this time of year. It'll be nice and warm for us down there. But we'll have a lot of fun. So I look forward to many of you that have already joined us. Anybody else, please go to this website, howtomarket2millions.com, and we can hopefully answer any more questions that come up. Thanks again.